Hey, it's Juck. We are not bemoaning the noon kickoff. We are now owning it. It's a badge of honor. We're the lunatic fringe that defines our coach's legacy when it comes to this game. They don't get to define that outside the family. We're cut from a different cloth. We're Ohioans. He's got it all, man. He's even got the jaw. You know the jaw. You see that jaw, and you're just like, yeah, man, that's a dude. Do I want Michigan to beat Oklahoma? No way in hell. I don't know what world I'm living in. This is insane to me. And if you saw my outburst, I apologize. It's showtime now. It is showtime, and it's your friend Juck. Thanks so much for joining me as we are now 2 days, guys. It is Thursday. We are 2 days from getting to watch, for one, Jeremiah Smith play football again. The entire country is excited for that. He's ours. We also get to see, for the very first time, Kenyatta Jackson as the starter, Arvell Reese as the starter, Julian Sayin leading the offense, a new and improved Brandon Inniss, Max Clare, and on and on and on we go. I love taking in a new team. It's always so exciting just to see that first game of the year, even if it was against Grambling, it would be so exciting. But we got a huge game. We got a smashing huge game, and everybody going to this thing. We're going to be talking about this 20 years from now, just like we're still talking about 05 Texas, and I cannot wait. All the talk around the country has been about our Buckeyes this year, whether that is the big game Saturday, Dave Portnoy, Fox, or now Pat McAfee. I've cruised around checking out where everybody's standing on this game as far as the national press, and you won't be surprised to hear that about 8 out of 10 picking Texas to win the game. Now, that's kind of how it was for the last month, but I thought towards game time, we'd start to see people kind of fade in the public and it kind of level off. It usually does. Not so much this time. Everybody's choosing Texas not just to win. So many people are choosing Texas to win the national championship. And as we enter into this game now, because of that, because of the pressure being heaped on Texas, Ohio State, despite being at home, the defending national champion, the two best players in college football, it just feels like all the pressure is on Sark and Texas and Arch. It's not on Ohio State. Texas is their chosen team this year. It was Ohio State last year. Ohio State got a lot of national championship predictions along with Georgia, but Ohio State was in that position that even though there was a lot of people that weren't picking them to win the national championship, it was still pointing their finger at Ryan Day saying, natty or bust for you, pal, meaning win the natty or we're going to absolutely crucify you in the press. And they would have. Fortunately for our guy, he won the natty, but the pressure cooker is going to start to swing over to Texas here. It's already starting, and Texas getting the treatment Ohio State got last year, it'll happen about midseason. They'll start, if they slip at all, pointing to last year, how they lost to Georgia twice, pointing to the year before, how they got knocked out by Washington. And if Texas doesn't win it all this year, Texas is going to start getting, and Sark, the best coach that can't win the big one. He's going to start getting that title, especially if James Franklin cashes in this year. I don't envy him, obviously, but really, when it comes to programs that get that kind of treatment, Texas is like the only program when it's humming, when it's running at top tier, that gets the same kind of ridiculous expectations heaped on it like Ohio State. And I don't feel for him, but I'm kind of happy that it's, getting kicked off onto somebody else. Now, the biggest talking point last year, most of the season, Ohio State's $20 million roster. Thanks to Ross Bjork. He's learned his lesson, but a year too late. Texas this year, I think, we've seen some reports now. There was one report that was a nonsense report about a $40 million roster. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a $40 million roster. That particular report was nonsense, but it's clear they're spending a ton of money. There's no doubt about that. And I think we're going to hear a lot about their roster this year. Probably nowhere near as much as we heard about Ohio State's roster last year. But coming into this game, Ohio State doesn't feel like they're under pressure. They feel like they're ready to win. I went down to Ryan Day's press conference on Tuesday, and that was the message. You could pick up on what Ryan Day is telling the team. He usually tells the press by how he talks. And it is clear that the talking point at the Woody this week is just win.
Win the game, and to win the game, and it's to win the game. Now, in order to win the game, we have to win the game. Go win the game. to win the game, win the game, win the game. So what do we need to do to win the game?
Now, I could have gone on and on and on clipping these out because they were all throughout the press conference. Win the game, win the game, win the game. That's the message to the guys. Doesn't matter what it takes. Doesn't matter what you do. I actually think that when you look at this game, you may feel like, okay, you got a first-time starting quarterback on a massive stage, probably going to be a little bit more of a simplistic game plan. We're going to try to run the ball, short passes. I think they are intending on being fairly aggressive here. I think the game plan is aggressive. I think it's aggressive on offense and it's aggressive on defense because it's more of a, we're throwing caution to the wind and we're going to win the game. And we're going to go down swinging if we go down. This is our house. We're going down swinging. I think that's the mindset. That's what I feel like I picked up, and I'm sticking with it. I think we're going to see an aggressive Buckeye team, which I think, if you're like me, you always want aggressive. So I can't wait for this. I'm absolutely thrilled. Got everything ready. I'm ready to go down. I'm going down Friday afternoon, little programming notes. So I'm going to go down Friday afternoon. I'm going to go meet Kevin Noon at the game on Friday night. Jameer Brown and Wayne are coming into Pickerington Central. So we're going to go shoot that game, probably talk to Jameer Brown afterwards. By the way, I want to show you guys this. So Jameer Brown, the number one wide receiver in the state the number one wide receiver in the country, of course, in the state as well, in the class of 2027, committed to the Buckeyes. If you look at that class with Dakota Garant out of Michigan and Monshun Sales out of Indiana, that is 3 of the top 9 wide receivers in the country. And out of that top 9 wide receivers, 5 of them are from Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Very rare that the Big Ten footprint, the classic Big Ten footprint, I guess, I don't know, Penn State's not really the classic Big Ten footprint, but the classic Big Ten footprint that we've been dealing with, the Big Ten East forever, is represented 5 of the best 9 wide receivers in the country, which is pretty phenomenal. We don't usually have that much skill. We got it. And Dakota Garant, why can't I say that name? Dakota Garant from Michigan, and he is maybe a bit of a Michigan lean right now, but very interested in Ohio State, as is Monshun Sales. There's an opportunity there for Heartline to do it again, which is just absurd, man. Just absurd. But anyway, I got off track there. I want to talk about the Ohio State wide receivers because there's a couple big time strength on strength matchups in this Ohio State Texas game. The Ohio State wide receivers, obviously a strength. They're the best in the country. The Texas secondary, a strength of their team, despite losing a bunch of guys like Jahdae Barron and with the other cat they lost, total stud, went to the NFL. They've replaced them with some really athletic dudes they're very high on. They've got Malik Muhammad. They got a really good secondary. Michael Taff is my favorite player on the team. He's the safety that was in the hall after the Cotton Bowl with the guttural cry, right? He's the one that checked Luke Montgomery when he was doing the horns down. And sure, we hate him. He's a Longhorn, but if he was our guy, we would love him. That sound he was making after losing the game, like it meant so much to him. And when you see a guy like that, this day and age in college football that cares that much about his team, about winning, you just got to respect it. So I like it. I like the matchup, and I like the matchup for the Bucks, despite this secondary being one of the best in the country. Nobody is beating this Ohio State wide receiver core all year. So that's one of the strength on strength matchups. Another strength on strength matchup, the Texas defensive line versus the Ohio State offensive line. Both these matchups taking place when Ohio State has the ball. Wide receivers versus DBs, Ohio State offensive line, Texas defensive line. Strength on strength. The biggest question to me, can Ohio State rush for over 100 yards? They didn't last time. They averaged 5 yards a carry. Kind of went away from the run. They could have kept it up. They didn't. If Texas can stop the run with a 7-man box, it's going to be really difficult for the Buckeyes to get the passing game going. So the key here is C.J. Donaldson to be a battering ram, James Peoples to pop off some chunk runs and get them to bring somebody up to help in the run game. If they do that, it's going to screw up whatever Pete Kwiatkowski's got going on in the back end. What he plans to do is to get cozy, confuse Julian with a bunch of different looks, and take Jeremiah away. He's definitely going to try to take Jeremiah away again. It didn't work for them in the sense that it didn't win them the game last time. And Carnell Tate popped off with 7 catches. G. Scott had 5. Emeka had 5. But Jeremiah didn't beat him. You didn't have a situation like Notre Dame. You didn't get the big one. And that's what they're going to guard against again, I think. So the key here is to get the running game going. Now, how do you do it? I don't think the Buckeyes are going to be able to run on the perimeter against these guys. They're too fast. They're too athletic. They've got to run between the tackles. That means you got to take on a strength of theirs, which is 3 waves of big men that Carson, Tegra, and Luke Montgomery got to beat, and they got to beat them up. Physicality, beating those dudes down. I think they're capable of doing it. They got Murad Watson in there. The Murad Watson dude from Syracuse. That's the transfer that I wanted that we didn't get. Texas Scott. Kid was a freshman all ACC. And of course they got Hero. He's in one of their waves. They got a pile of them, man. They got a pile of them. This is the 5 transfers they got. Plus they had Alex January was already there. We played him like he's the one that Travian got the penalty against last year. The personal foul penalty in the Cotton Bowl when he popped him in the mouth. But wave after wave after wave of fresh big body dudes that our interior guys got to whoop on. They got to. That's how the Bucs win the game on offense. Because if they can get that going, running between the tackles, everything opens up, and our man Jules going to pick them apart. Now, speaking of that offensive line, who is starting at tackle for Ryan Day? Who is the official starting lineup? He wouldn't come out and say it. When talking about the right tackle battle, here's what he had to say.
Tackle, have you guys made a decision yet on whether Phillip or Ethan will be that guy?
I think we're going to kind of leave that towards the end of the week, and we'll, let the week play out. Let these guys compete. Certainly, Phil will play a lot. Whether we rotate or not, we'll decide. But he's had a really good preseason, and he's ready to play.
So Phil Daniels, most likely our starter at right tackle. How much do we see of Ethan Onyanwa? I think it depends how good Phil does. A huge test for these tackles, man. A huge test. You got Colin Simmons, you got Ethan Burke. These dudes are not typical defensive ends. I mean, these are edge rushing dudes. These are speed demons. That's why I think it's going to be so hard to hit those outside runs. But if they can handle these guys, they're in business. They're in business. And I think that this offensive line is going to end up being one of the better offensive lines in the country, a Joe Moore Award type of candidate. I'm really looking forward to seeing them play. I really am. The way they've set this up to coach these guys, I think it's going to have them advance. It's going to have them further along than most other lines with the 3 offensive line coaches. By the way, walked by Charlie Dickey on Tuesday. What a friendly guy, man. So he's one of them. Charlie Dickey, Marcus Johnson. Of course, they're working for the boss. That's Tyler Bowen. They've also got Austin Fields working with them. So these guys are going to be ready. They're absolutely going to be ready, and I anticipate the Buckeyes are going to play a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 2 tight end sets. We're going to get Max Clare, get Will Kazmarek in there, run that ball tough and strong. Will Kazmarek, they list how big everybody is, and sometimes you see him in person, and you're like, not so much. Will Kazmarek, this guy is enormous. He is enormous. CJ Donaldson as well. And Will Kazmarek, I was not thrilled by his athleticism, but when you see the size of that body, man, it's no wonder. He's huge. He's a hell of a blocker. Keenan calls him the best blocking tight end of the country. And with Max Clare, Will Kazmarek in there, obviously, Clare opens up a ton of mismatches for Julian, a security blanket type of dude, as is BI. And that's why I think this might be a big Brandon Innes day. But I don't think Julian's going to be shy after he gets the feel of the game from putting it downfield. He's never been shy like that. It's just in his DNA to push the ball down the field. That's what I love about him. We've seen so many quarterbacks be gun shy early in their careers to do that. Not Julian. He's going to push it down the field, even against Texas. Now, let's flip it around to the other side of the ball. Arch Manning, everybody's hero, the new Tim Tebow. Will Arch show it? The thing about Tim Tebow was he was established, right? He won a national championship as a freshman. That was really before social media took hold. If Arch Manning comes in and wins this game and looks good doing it, you think you've heard a lot of Arch Manning now. This is going to be, by game 4 or 5 of this year, like intolerable. We're not going to be able to get away from it. The Bucks got to win this game. They got to shut this dude out. Now, Arch Manning has played in, I think, 10 games last year. He started 2, Louisiana Monroe, Mississippi State, both bums of defenses. He played pretty good. He showed the tools in a college game. He can throw it downfield on a frozen rope. He can hit guys. He can run. The one run he had where he juked the dude out and then took off. I mean, that 55 yards down the sideline, taunting the guy towards the end zone. This dude's got wheels and he's powerful, but we've seen him be on the other end of a hit. They don't want to subject him to a ton of danger against a really good team. So you're going to want to limit that for sure, but he could pick up those third downs all day if he needs to with his legs, if the Bucks aren't careful. And that's my biggest fear. There is nothing that is more annoying than watching the defense hold them on first and second. You get to a third down, poof, there a dude goes, picks up a first. Like, it drives me insane. So Bucks really got to watch out for that. But a strength on strength matchup again here. The Texas wide receivers with Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore, and they got a 6'4" white dude who's Arch Manning's roommate. He's really good too. That's a good wide receiver core. They're going up against IGB and Big Game Maine. Big Game Maine and IGB, so long as IGB doesn't get any penalties, they're going to shut these dudes down. I'm not worried about that. They'll get a few here and there. But all in all, this is a strength-on-strength matchup that it feels like kind of cancels itself out. The X factor, Arch running, Caleb, Arvell, Sonny, they got to make sure that doesn't happen. Will Texas be able to run the ball? This right here brings us to the only mismatch that I think there is going to be in this game. The only mismatch, and they talk about Ohio State's offensive line replacing 4 starters. We all know that's not really the case. You're replacing 4 new starters from the beginning of last year. You're not replacing 4 starters from the national championship run, the crew that beat the best teams. That crew returns. This Texas crew is legitimately replacing 4 dudes with a bunch of young dudes. One of the guys that was in one of the battles at tackle, injured, he's out for the year. Another one of those guys at tackle, dinged up. He's been in and out of practice. And what they're going against, obviously we've been talking about the Ohio State defensive line depth all year, but the starters, we're talking about Kenyatta Jackson, who I think just might make himself a household name to college football fans this year. This is a veteran who's been a beast all year, and he is ready to take over. This guy, a 4th-year dude that looks and plays like that, and now it's his D. He's ready. You got Caden Curry on the other side. You've got Bo Atkinson. Who knows how they're going to use CJ Hicks? Maybe he breaks out in this game and we see it. And if we see it in this game, we can see it in any game. That would be amazing. But it's the inside that really matters here. I think that we're looking to see 35 snaps out of Edric Houston and Caden McDonald. And I think that I wish we could have more, but Larry said 25 to 35. Maybe they'll get more. We've never seen either of these guys play extended snaps. We've never seen a game like that out of either of them yet. I believe in their talent. I really like them. I think they're both really high level players. Like, K-Mac, maybe a 3rd round type of dude. Edric, I think, has a 1st round ceiling, but we've never seen him play a ton. It sucks that they didn't have a warm up to get ready for this. Curious as to how it's going to go and how much they can play, but we all know that they can handle it. They can stuff their lanes at minimum and free up and keep those guards off of Arvell and Sonny and let them make the plays. Caleb coming up, like, I'm not too awfully concerned when they're in the game. It's when we go back to the backups. Ryan Day talked about who's going to be playing when they come out of the game.
Who's the top backup defensive tackle? If you guys had a game today, who'd be the top backup D tackle?
I wouldn't say one guy because we're going to roll those guys pretty good. I feel like we've developed some depth there, and I feel like we're going to feel good about putting different guys in the game. So between Edric and K-Mac and Will, Taiwan Malone, even Jarquez, you're going to see guys kind of mix in and out of there. So the good news is we have depth there, and I feel like we made progress at that position. So now they got to go play, and we got to go put it on the field against a really good front.
So there we go. First names out of his mouth. Now, what I thought in the spring was what we would eventually see was at one tech, Caden McDonald, Will Smith behind him, Eric Mensah behind him, Max Roy behind him. That's the way it's going to be. Will Smith, I was not too incredibly high on this move and him being a reliable number 2 one tech coming in. He was 280 pounds in the spring, had just gotten there. He got moved from 3 tech to 1 tech because it wasn't going good. It didn't sound like a recipe for success this year for Will Smith to me, but not only is he now up to 295, he is your best option. And we've now heard Sonny Styles, Ryan Day at Big Ten Media Days both bring him up unprompted. And my thought there was that could mean he's doing great. That could be them pumping him up because they know they need him. That's happened before. Wouldn't be the first time. Then a couple weeks ago, we heard backup center Josh Padilla in the interviews that the linemen give. And he brought up Will Smith and said he's slippery. He's like a totally different player. And going from K-Mac to blocking him is a real chore. It's really difficult. That's when I took notice. That's when I said, man, I hope I'm wrong. It sounds like I just might be on this one. And Will Smith might just be a dude. And if Will Smith is a dude, buddy, we're cooking. We got nothing to worry about because I know the other dude. And Ryan Day just talked about him. Ty Malone, I thought after Edric Houston, we were going to see a mix, split snaps between Ty Malone and Jarquez Carter this year. Those two would be splitting 2 reps. And those were the 3 names that he brought up. Will Smith, Ty Malone, and Jarquez Carter. Now, of note, Jason Moore was in a walking boot earlier this week. He could be injured. I don't think it matters. I think Jarquez Carter has already passed him. I'm not surprised by that one bit. I think that Jason Moore is a guy that just doesn't got it yet. And I know you can't take a ton from spring games, but there are some things you can take. And one of them is when you see a 300-pound, 6'6" defensive tackle who can't keep from getting blown 3 yards off the ball or out of his gap by a backup guard. That's not just like it's the spring game type of deal. That's not like watching a quarterback play. That's man to man. That guy can't get it done yet. And that was in spring. I don't think that much was changing from spring to fall with him. I don't think he's ready. But the guy's still got 3 years of eligibility left. So maybe it comes. But right now, I've been driving the Jarquez Carter bus since Ohio State first looked at him. Since I first saw his film, I've talked to him throughout this. He's had a great spring. He's had a great fall. He is obviously, I told you, benching now 32 reps at 225. He is different. He is a ball player that can come in and play as a freshman. I did not think he was going to come in and play at against Texas, but it certainly sounds like he's going to. And it sucks that Ohio State's in the situation to have to even look at for a freshman to do that. But I believe this kid can do it. He is different. He's twitched up. He's strong as an ox, the strongest on the team, upper body strength. And I'm really excited to see him. Great addition. Look at that. Did you see that right there? The way he came out, man, that dude is elite quick. Excellent. The speed is apparent. He's just dirty, man. He's nasty. There is one play when he's coming off the end. This one right here. Just look at that. You can see the speed. You can see the athleticism. And this is a guy who's not like super fit. I mean, he's nasty. Legit football player. Intense football player. Look at the strength. Did you see that? Now, Ty Malone, I also think is improving. That's great news as well. So, when we look at those 3, Will Smith, Ty Malone, Jarquez Carter, I think we're looking real good. Maybe not so much against Texas game 1, but down the road throughout the season for our biggest concern of the year. Well, 2 of them, right? Quarterback, those guys right there. I think it's getting better. And we're going to find out, man. That's the beauty of playing this game. You get to find out right off the rip, where are your deficiencies? If you don't have any glaring deficiencies, and if one of them is Will Smith is a dog, like they're trying to tell us he is, and Jarquez Carter and Ty Malone get the job done, hey, man, this team could absolutely win another national championship. Now, whether it happens in Texas, I don't know. But we are all of a sudden seeing everybody jump on the Jarquez train. I just want to remind you, I'm driving the bus. Juck was first there. But remember, Will Smith shows out, you can roast me because I own my L's too. I did say I didn't think that would work out. Can't pat myself on the back without taking the L's. So I hope I was dead wrong on Will Smith. I know I'm right on Carter. I also know I'm right on Jason Moore. Anyway, so CJ Hicks, how many snaps does CJ Hicks get? Is he going to look effective out there like he did in fall camp? Or is he going to look way out of place like he did in the spring? I imagine he's going to look more like fall camp. He was looking much better against the run. Larry Johnson insists that CJ has to be a 3-down guy. He can't just be a specialist. I don't know why that is. Seems like every other program in the country can have a specialist like CJ Hicks, but Larry insists he's got to be a 3-down guy. Look, I was worried about him in the run game. Looked better in the fall. He's bigger. We're going to see. I'm really excited to find out. Logan George, he's been injured. I haven't heard much about him at all in the fall. Is he even going to play? Bo Atkinson, his debut for the Bucs. Big son of a gun, man. Powerful kid. Not super bendy, not super twitched up. Relentless motor, powerful. We'll see how many snaps he gets. But this defensive line against that offensive line is the matchup of the game. It'll tell the whole story right there. Everything else, even Steven kind of matchups from the quarterbacks to the coaches to every other position group. This is the mismatch right here. It's the Ohio State defensive line. It's Kenyatta Jackson. It's Caden Curry. If they eat, this is over. This is cooked. They're done. They can't handle it. Now, if we have a weird discrepancy, turnovers, penalties, that is what it is. But all things even, that's the matchup. And I'm excited for it because not only could they win the Texas game doing that, but if we come out of the game and it's that group that won the game, excitement level goes to 10, right? I mean, for the rest of the season, excitement level is already 10 for this game. Now, I will say that I have never seen a more underestimated quarterback at Ohio State who's come in with the kind of accolades that Julian Sayin has than him. He's been underestimated by the national media. He's been underestimated by Ohio State fans. Like this dude, if he was built like Lincoln Keenholz, can you imagine how crazy everybody would be about him? Like just imagine if he was Tavian St. Clair's size and he transferred from Alabama, Nick Saban's program, to Ohio State. When he came in, there was a large swath of Ohio State fans didn't even want him. They were attached to Aaron Noland, who is a high-quality prospect coming out of high school. But there are 6 Aaron Noland-type prospects every year. There's one Julian Sayin. It was never close between the two of them. Lincoln Keenholz, Tavian as a freshman, like people wanted alternatives. There's been a lot of people who wanted alternatives other than Julian. And it's got to be his size. It's the only thing I can think of. I've been a believer in him for a very long time. And you got to remember these scouts that rank this dude number 1 get graded off of the NFL draft. When you look at his size, obviously not NFL ideal size, it takes a lot for them to give a guy like that a 5-star number 1 overall quarterback rating. And it's because he has special arm talent, and we are going to see it. Now, not a lot of talk at the press conference on Tuesday about Julian. There was a lot of talk about the running backs beginning in the spring, talking about depth charts. Some talking about Sam Williams-Dixon coming back out of the portal. That was good news. He could be the number 3 guy, which was not ever going to happen. I said it would be CJ Donaldson, James Peoples, Bo Jackson as your number 3, and Isaiah West as your number 4. Isaiah, the most underrated player out of last year's class of 2025. 700 some ranked player in the country, 3-star, insanity. Now, Isaiah's been injured. Isaiah's back. Isaiah's fully healthy. Here's Ryan Day.
Ryan, your running back room last year obviously was so good. Just the progress of this running back group through this entire offseason. What have you thought of it? How do you feel about where it is right now?
I think we built depth. I think we need to go play and find out where we're at. But I do think that Locke has built depth there, and guys are running hard. Protection, as you know, is important. Ball security is utmost importance in this game. And we'll find out coming out of the game. But we've seen a lot of progress in those areas. James and CJ, Bo has stepped up. And so we feel like those 3 going into the game could play for us. Isaiah West is coming off of an injury, but he's really popped for us. And so we think that, down the road he can play, probably not in his first game, but it's been a while since we had 4 or 5 backs like that we can put in a game and feel good about. So, but ultimately it's going to be how they perform, and excited to see them play.
That's my guy. That's my dude. Listen, I'll be straight up. I'm rooting for that kid because he's awesome. I think he's a great guy. He's also an excellent running back. Isaiah West I've said it all along, Isaiah West will be a fan favorite at Ohio State because of the way this kid runs the ball. If you've never seen it, maybe I'll show it again. I've showed you the highlights 100 times. He's just so exciting. It takes 5 dudes trying to bring him down. He fights for every yard. He's awesome. He'll be the number 4 back for the rest of the year. And Bo Jackson will not be James Peoples last year. Bo will play. Bo's not getting mop-up duty. Bo will get serious carries this year. Might not be against Texas, but I think he'll get some. I do. He's that kind of guy, and he's ready. So that's how we're going to go. I stand by Bo rushing for leading the team in multiple games rushing this year. Multiple games. He's that kind of dude. So everything's shaping up. I love it. I'm pumped. These are special dudes, man. This class of 2025 is packed full of them. And I'm so jazzed, man. I am so jazzed. Now, let's all like the show, please. I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe. If you have not yet, doesn't cost you anything. Helps me out in a big way. And that's what we do with our fellow Buckeyes. We help each other out. Now, a massive list of visitors, of course, for the biggest game in the history of the world. Wide receiver Chris Henry Jr. definitely will be in town. And here comes our old buddies at On 3, trying real hard to stir up some nonsense.
But before we get into flips, I want to talk to you about Chris Henry Jr., the elite wide receiver, put on a show on ESPN against St. Thomas Aquinas. And afterward, he talked with our own Marcus Benjamin and said that Oregon and Texas are still in pursuit. So how locked in is Chris Henry Jr. with the Buckeyes?
Well, Chris Henry Jr. gave Ohio State a very early verbal, but he's been entertaining other programs throughout his entire process, so this is not new. Now, flipping him from the Buckeyes is going to be a challenge because of the way that Brian Hartline and Ohio State prepares their wide receivers not only to get drafted high, but to step into the game on Sundays and be an immediate difference maker and among the best wide receivers in the NFL. But it's modern recruiting. If Chris Henry Jr. can go out there and build upon this opener and have a monster senior year, what is the threshold? What is the value that one of these other programs is willing to offer to get him to change his mind? And so Oregon's a program that's always been in it for Chris Henry Jr. Texas is a program that maybe he's been interested in, but Oregon's always been viewed as the biggest challenger. But anytime Texas is involved, particularly late, you can't rule the Longhorns out.
These guys can't help themselves, man. They can't help themselves with their nonsense. Now, a ton of other big-time prospects. We'll go over a few. For one, you've got the number 1 and number 2 running back in the country, Kamon Spell, who is committed to Penn State. That's the number 1. And then you got DGG, David Gabriel George. Buckeyes. Buckeyes lead the way. I think the Buckeyes land him. I think that this is maybe as confident of a 2027 that I am on somebody is David Gabriel George will end up a Buckeye. Come on, Spell. He's special, all right. He is special, but David Gabriel George, I don't need the number one guy. I'm cool with the number two guy. They'd go ahead and keep him. I think Come On Spell ends up decommitting from Penn State and getting a massive offer somewhere, a la Savion Hyder. He's been committed to Penn State for a year. The national attention wasn't there. It'll come, and so will the money. Now, RJ Day's teammate, Jordan Karhoff, he's a tight end. He'll be there. I think he's really good. I think he's getting better. But the number one target for Keenan Bailey will also be in town. That's Brock Williams, the number 2 tight end in the country. Ohio State, Georgia. Georgia seemingly has the lead, but Brady Edmonds, Brady's parents are texting with his parents. Brady's texting him. Brady's really in on him hard. And I've never seen Keenan Bailey miss when he's all the way in. You've also got Anthony Cartwright out of Michigan. He'll be in town. D'Angelo White will not be. He's the tight end out of Villa Angela St. Joe. A big-time tight end class this year. And Keenan's in on the best one. So going to get a sweet tight end in the class of 2027. There is a slew of offensive linemen. Tyler Bowen not messing around. Defensive ends. There are 2 sweet edge rushers in Anthony Sweeney, Jace Brewer. The issue here is defensive tackles. There are tons of guys at every position coming into town except defensive tackles. And consistently, it's just like, for instance, these 2 edges probably become these big-time, big money edges. Something's got to give here, man. Something's got to give. And in a game like this, it would seem to me like this should be a game where you would have so many of these other guys that next tier down coming in and visiting. You got to find these guys earlier. Just to give you an example, Chaz Coleman out of Warren Harding did not come on the board for Ohio State till real late in the class of 2025. They didn't end up getting him. He goes to Penn State, kid out of Youngstown. Now you end up with Epi Satanile. So all's well that ends well. I really like Epi. I think he's going to be a dude, but I sure would have liked to have them both because Chaz Coleman, everything out of Penn State is this dude's going to play like 25 snaps in game 1 as a true freshman. He's a dog. He's legit. What took so long to get on him? And that's what's frustrating. If you're going to go after guys that you're not going to end up paying, let's go get the dude that's local that looks like a monster. Can we just go do that? Get him into the Texas game. Foster the relationship. It was too late for Chaz Coleman. Just an example. Anyway, that's my spiel on recruiting. We don't need to talk about recruiting anymore. Ronaldo Perez will be in town, local from Columbus. I think he ends up a Buckeye, of course, and he fought for his offer over the summer. 2 camps, did great. So happy for him. Now, the fact that it's Big Noon, probably keeping some guys who otherwise might have come out of town. Brewster out of Texas, that beast of a D tackle who's also a running back. He won't be making it because of that. But Blaine Bradford will be making it into town. Blaine Bradford, of course, 5-star safety in the class out of Louisiana with the brother at LSU from Baton Rouge. His dad made some comments recently. His dad said, Ohio State has not made any mistakes. Blaine is a 17-year-old kid with the pressure of Death Valley hovering over him. Blaine will have the final say-so as we navigate this space. As of today, he is a Buckeye. Now, I choose to believe that Blaine just loves Ohio State. And Blaine could still love Ohio State as he is making that phone call, decommitting from McGrary, and taking a massive offer from LSU. The question is, will Ohio State let that happen? I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I think you're in a situation now at this point, like you were in with Edric Houston. And that was, a situation where, look, you had no numbers. You needed him. You absolutely had to have him. And he was about to pick Bama as he walked onto the stage until Ryan Day made a phone call 5 minutes beforehand, saved the day on baby Huey. they got to hold on to Blaine. You can't let Blaine get out now. If you let Blaine get out, you're just, what have you done here? You've blown up everything. I'll tell you what, I was on a live show yesterday. I might even play you this snippet. It was the most embarrassing thing. So I'm on this live show and I've got some Texas fans. My buddy Billy McBride from Oregon, an Oregon fan, was in there. And these two are going at it and they're talking about recruiting. I thought they were talking to me or talking to an Ohio State fan. And it turns out the Oregon fan and the Texas fan were talking crap to each other about whose class was better. And we're just sitting on the sidelines like, yeah, we're not even in the conversation with these two as to who's got the best class. That was embarrassing. But anyway, hey, like I said, game day, man. We're not worried about recruiting right now. It's always on my mind, guys. I'm sorry. Now, Google TV, YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google. So Google and Fox in a huge scare that has been straightened out. If you heard the news, it's straightened out for now. That is the carriage dispute. YouTube TV was going to be dropping Fox. The deadline was like Wednesday night. And if you have YouTube TV, you were not going to be able to watch Baylor and Auburn Friday, the Buckeyes on Saturday, etc. Like no Fox Sports, all the corresponding networks, because they're in dispute over, these things. The deal's ending. YouTube wants to pay them less money for the next deal. Fox is saying that's not the way it works. It goes up. Nobody wants to give. So YouTube said, look, if we got to get rid of Fox, we're going to pay you $10. Enjoy your $10. There's been some kind of extension. So we're not going to miss out on the games, which is great. Now, the Indiana game. We talked about it last week. Ryan Day brought it up at the press conference as well.
That we need everyone to do their job on Saturday. And that includes the fans. I mentioned this before. I know it's a noon game, but we need everybody in that stadium early. We need them loud. You think back on, the Indiana game when Indiana had to go to a silent cadence and they couldn't clap anymore. That was a huge deal for our defense. And it's going to be the same way on Saturday if the fans are in there early and they're loud when they have the ball. No, when we have the ball, they can be quiet. But when they have the ball, we need them as loud as they possibly can to make this the most hostile environment in the country. And we all know it is. So we need everyone to do their job.
We're going to do our job, Coach. We are going to do our job, even if it means singing along to Camps, Ohio. By the way, the Camp guys, Pat Murphy from 247 interviewed the founders of the Camp Band. The Camp Band, the song, the anthem that most don't like, wish was a different pick. They talked to Pat Murphy, and one of the things they said made me feel really bad for these guys. So for one, this means a whole lot to them that their song was picked. For two, they're such big fans that in the middle of a concert during an Ohio State Big Ten championship game, on the projector behind them as they played, they had the Buckeyes game being projected behind them so that they could turn around and check on the game. And that kind of lunacy reminds me of us, and that they are us. They're one of us. And when I heard that, then I started feeling bad that they were taking this the wrong way. I don't know how they're taking it. I'm just saying, I hope they're not taking this the wrong way. It's not a knock on them or their song or anything. It's a knock on the selection of this song to be the anthem. And nobody had any input in the entire thing except for a board of suits. You know what I mean? So that's what people are irritated about, not them. So I wish them the best. Shout out to those guys. And I'm going to sing along to the song. I'm also going to have a cameraman with me, and we're going to see what everybody else is doing. I'll be sure to relay that information back to you guys, my best friends. And it is your friend Juck signing off tomorrow, Friday. We're going live 10 a.m. A throwback to last year. We did every Friday live at 10. It was me and Chris. Won't be me and Chris this week. Next Monday will be me and Chris on Monday morning doing a recap. So look out for that next Monday. But join me tomorrow at 10 a.m. And we're going to go through a bunch of games. We're going to have some fun. I will sit on and talk to you guys as long as you want to talk about the Buckeyes game. And then I will be heading down to Columbus and getting ready because I am going to see Wayne come up to Pickerington Central and Jameer Brown, the number 1 wide receiver in the country. I'm going to get some sweet footage for us. Talk to Jameer. It's going to be electric, and I can't wait. And then we roll into, I didn't even tell you guys. Did I tell? Maybe I didn't. My middle son, Carmi, was going to go to the Texas game with me. And he has since bounced out. Doesn't want to go. 20 years old. Said he doesn't want to go because he doesn't feel like driving down. Mind you, I'm driving. He says, sit, right? He doesn't want to drive down. It's a 2-hour trip that I make every Tuesday back and forth for a 30-minute press conference. He doesn't want to drive down. So, I mean, whatever, that's fine. I'm taking my lovely wife. She loves to go to the games with me. But I was like, I can't believe this kid. So my wife was taking Rocco, the youngest, to an eye appointment at Cleveland Clinic. And Carmen has to drive him up to this eye appointment at Cleveland Clinic, 50 minutes up to Cleveland and back. And he said, that's fine. So instead of driving with me down to the Texas game to Columbus, he's going to take his little brother up to the Cleveland Clinic. What sense does this make? I hope he sees this. I don't know. Give him some feedback of how wrong he is. Tell him how much you regret not going to Texas in 2005. Huh? Tell him that. All right. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon. JUCK'S out. Hey, it's Juck. And I don't think he's going to throw the ball as much as he thinks he's going to throw the ball now that Chip Kelly's on board. And I'm happy about that. More quarterback. The truth is Ryan Day has made a change philosophically, but it's none